getting the most out of a HEMS service and dispatch. I think the bottom line is if it was only like this and we had unlimited resources, life would be quite easy. If we had lots of doctors, paramedics in aircraft waiting to go. But the reality is doctors and paramedics are expensive, helicopters are expensive, and we have to nuance it. And the reality is there are probably other reasons why we have to make sure that we're tasking patient aircraft to the right incidents. This is some data from the NTSB website in the States, which shows that working as a helicopter crewman is the most dangerous occupation in the United States, which is, frankly, just phenomenal. If you've ever seen Deadliest Catch and how dangerous all that stuff is, underneath here are logging workers and fisheries and roofers and what have you. So it's quite phenomenal that it can be so dangerous. The reality is in the UK, it is probably less dangerous in terms of the accident rate, but it is still a real issue. Accidents do happen whether we send ambulances by road or we send them by air. If we look at the tasking around the world, it varies tremendously. On the left here is a little bit of the website from Priority Dispatch, which is a company that Jeff Clawson set up many years ago. This AMPDS is probably the most well-known and renowned dispatch software in the world. But what you can see here is a course of 3 days. It costs $300 to go on it, and as long as you follow those algorithms and do what it says on the paper, apparently dispatch is all in order. If we contrast that with France, very different. In the regions of France, the SAMU will have a physician at the heart of the dispatch and control centre. He'll be surrounded by paramedics and firefighters and nurses, and he'll be making, or she will be making, the decision about whether to send a resource. No scripts, no protocols, just a bit of a Gaelic hunch on whether an aircraft should be sent or not. But we need to recognise that it's a very tricky business. You'll be familiar with the stealth bomber here, the company that makes the stealth bomber, Northrop Grumman, patently a very capable organisation if you can make one of these. Well, they also make computer-aided dispatch systems for ambulance services and police services, but they can't get that bit to work. There are many legal challenges against Northrop Grumman, and there's been a staggered introduction of the service in London with threats of legal action and what have you. So it pretty much tells you that getting ambulance sources to the right patient at the right time is a difficult issue, even when you've got organisations like this trying to work the problem. So is there anything else out there from the US that we can perhaps use? This is data again from the NTSB. You can make of that what you think. A lot of the trauma surgeons, some of the most eminent trauma surgeons in the States, are very vocal about this, that these dispatch systems aren't working. We'd be pretty mortified if this was the outcome of some of our patients that are airlifted to hospital. So what are the options? Well, you could use a dedicated desk instead of a protocol system and stick a dedicated dispatcher there that doesn't have much clinical training. You might put man that desk with HEMS clinicians, be it doctors or paramedics. Some centres actually have computer screens at their bases and that decide themselves exactly whether they should go on a mission or not. Or you could just forget it all and you could just say, well, look, just let the crews get there. If the patient looks really poorly and sick, then they can ask for a helicopter. Well, who should be doing it? Is there any data out there? Well, this is a paper from Australia that suggests that the doctors in this particular service were better than the paramedics at dispatching the helicopter. But it's very difficult to judge. This group in the Netherlands undertook the enviable task of looking at 34 studies, trying to trying to look at all of the dispatch criteria and work out the things that make you and me really tired, can't bear all this stuff. Positive predictive value, negative predictive value, sensitivities, false positives, false negatives, all these different criteria. And you know, bless them, in the end, they concluded only mechanism of injury wasn't useful. and simply concluded we recommend developing a consensus definition of what patients benefit from a HEMS, which you think, oh God, that really is quite depressing. But the criteria do have to be nuanced. If you take a case of rollover, is rollover in London of a car associated with serious injury? Well, in our experience, it's not even associated with a bloody patient, because they've usually nicked the car and put it up. However, rollover in different situations has a completely different context. So you could have rollover as part of your dispatch criteria. In London, it would give a sum total of nothing, but patently, in a more rural environment, it has different consequences. Oh my God, I'm sorry. So what does successful tasking look like? Well, is it about conveyancing? Is it about admission? Is it about surgery? Is it about people who get thoracotomies? Is it about ISS? That isn't an ISS of greater than 16. So dispatch systems that are trying to achieve ISS 16 will try and leave patients like this out of major trauma centres. So what does it look like, good tasking? Well, the bottom line is it depends on your baseline EMS providers, your HEMS design, your geography, your EMS design, and the diseases that you treat. In London, we use flight paramedics, screening all the calls, dispatching the calls in 3 ways using immediate interrogation and crew request. I'm just going to tell you about this patient because it's simply not about dispatching the right results, it's about pre-arrival instructions. This is a young girl with a posterior fossa extradural that we got to with fixed dilated pupils, a heart rate of 34, decerebrate posturing at her first day at school.
Emergency ambulance, what's the address of the emergency, please?
Andrew School, Matilda Street, N10LB.
Thanks, and what's the problem then? Tell us
A child is falling in the playground down the back of her head. She's unconscious at the moment.
She's unconscious?
Yeah, fine.
Are you with her at the moment?
Yeah, we've got teachers, she's attacked.
How old is she?
She's 5.
Okay. And is she completely unresponsive at the moment?
Yes, she is.
Is she breathing?
She is breathing.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long ago did this happen, do you know?
2 minutes. She won't respond to anything.
Did she call at ground level?
She did, yeah.
Okay.
She was skipping and fell down the
No
back of her
problem.
head.
Is she breathing regularly, would you say?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any bleeding at all?
No breathing.
Right, so, okay, listen, Kevin, I'm just going to tell you what to do next, alright? Okay, has she been moved since she...
Yes, she has.
Right, try and keep this still at the moment, okay, try not to move her at all. But what you can do is, can you just look into her mouth for me, see if there's any people vomiting?
No, she's in a recovery condition.
That's fine, so she's lying on the side at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, could you just put her on her back and just...
Lay her on her back?
Yeah.
Okay, lay her on her back. You want her to lay her on her back?
Obviously, if she is sick, then she'll need to go back on her side, but at the moment...
She's bumped the back of her head, so
I understand, but all we need to do is open up her airway.
open up her head. Put her on her back, please. On her back, please, on her back. Okay.
Okay, can you put one hand on her forehead, your other hand under her neck,
Yeah.
and tilt her head back so that she can body out.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
She's
Yeah.
biting her tongue. She's biting her tongue.
Okay, can you just listen to her breathing for me? Is it still regular?
Is it still regular? Her breathing. Check her breathing. Yeah.
It is. Alright, well, unless she's sick, keep her in that position with her head straight in front, is it? Yeah. Okay. Can you send someone out there to meet them directly?
Yeah, okay, I'll go there now.
Well, that's all right, I'll stay on the phone with you. You just let me know if anything changes.
We're taking with the child.
Okay, can I be on the phone with one of them then?
Yes. Lynn, hello.
Hello, there's the ambulance service. Hello.
I'm just being told the lips are turning blue.
Okay, can you just...
When we got to her, she was intubated, she had normal cavity ventilation, she had hypertonic saline, and eventually she did quite well. But the point is, if you work as an emergency physician, if you work as a neurosurgeon, if you work anywhere in the hospital, unless you take an interest in what pre-arrival instructions are being told to these patients, all you're getting is hypoxic injury in your department. Thank you very much.